First of all, I would like to, once again, thank you for coming, and I'm very excited to be putting on this webinar, and I'll explain why. But first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the Dja Dja Wurrung speaking people of the Kulin Nation and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders for looking after and caring for this gorgeous land that I'm on. And I'd also like to honour and acknowledge and hold my love for our mother, our Earth Mother, Mother Earth, who's always supporting, feeding, caring, tending to us. And so before we begin here, I just want to explain to you that this is a safe space. So I invite everyone to practice a sense of compassion for yourself and for others. I'm not going to make you do anything, or you don't have to join in or participate when you don't want to, but also you can really engage as much as you like. So if you have specific questions for about your child, then please do that, and you've got the chat box there. And and then also just a disclaimer as well. So this is educational, this is information that I'm sharing, and this is certainly not a replacement for any medical advice. And if you are looking for that, then please go see your doctor. So this is welcome, 5 steps to ease your child's raging emotions, anxiety and depression without pushing them away or burning you out. So once again, thank you so much for joining at a time that's, you've probably got lots of things happening in your home, and I really want to honour you for showing up for you, but also for your child. I know as a parent, it's not easy being a parent, and the things that I've learnt in the last couple of months, on top of the last couple of years, has just completely blown my mind around how parenting can just be different. It can feel different, and we can really support our children in such a different way to how we might have been raised. And this information is just so vital. The current stats of suicide blew me away a few months ago when I was at a mental health event in Wangaratta. It's 25 to 44-year-olds, the leading cause of death is suicide. So not to frighten you, but let's equip our kids with the tools that they will need as they move through, as they grow. So please put your phones away, close the other tabs down, and really I invite you to be fully present here so you can receive this information. So you are in the right place if you're worried about your child and their big emotions like anxiety, depression and raging emotions, and you're wanting to help your child with tools to regulate their emotions and support their mental health. And perhaps you're just really tired and exhausted, and that's welcome too. And also perhaps your child is just not listening and you're frustrated, and maybe you get angry, and that's also welcome. Whoop. So this webinar is not for you if you're not open to try something new. So, but I want to tell you that the things I'm going to share with you, it's almost like it's almost too good to be true. It's like, for me, I was just so sick, and I'll share lots of stories about my kids and my own parenting and my own mental health. But one thing I'll just share now was I just didn't know there was any other way than using punitive consequences to try and get one of my kids to do things. And I'm just so happy and thrilled to tell you that you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to take things away, like toys away, to make them do something. And like this approach to parenting, it actually works. And it excites me to no end that the latest neuroscience supports all of this. So I'm really, really so excited to share this information. Now, the webinar is also not for you if you're not willing to look at your own thoughts and feelings. And so part of this work is really to take full responsibility for the stories that we are carrying, the thoughts and feelings that we have within ourselves. And this is not a blame game, but this is just we are the adults. We are the adults now, right? Like sometimes that can even be like, okay, sometimes we still feel like kids and we're still like trying to fumble our way through. But we are the adults, and the kids need us to take full responsibility for our own thoughts and feelings. And that may involve us going back to, how we felt as a kid. Maybe we didn't feel listened to or heard. Maybe we weren't allowed to express our anger. Maybe we felt like a bad kid, or we were wrong, or we were a failure. All of those stories that we hold within ourselves are naturally going to affect our parenting. Okay, so this is just the beginning for you guys. So this is the very first time that I've shared this such vital information for parents. I did share some to teachers at the start of the year, which was great. But yeah, very excited to just give you as much content as I can, as many tips, and answer as many questions as I can in the next 2 hours. And if you're looking for more support, you will get to learn more about our course, KI for Parents and Children, at the end. So KI for Parents and Children is a global team. We've been working on creating tools, and this course specifically for parents who really want to support their child who are experiencing anxiety, depression, or raging emotions. So you will hear more about that a little later on. So I don't feel like we're going to leave you hanging after this information that I've shared. So here's what you'll learn by being here tonight. You'll discover what's causing your child's raging emotions, anxiety, and depression. So I used to hate science at school. There was actually a time when I was in year 10, I used to wait for the teacher to kick me out of class because I had no idea what she was saying. I didn't understand. Science just baffled me. And I was also experiencing depression at the time. But wow, the science that I've learned in the last couple of years has completely changed my world and helped me understand why I was the way I was. And also it just fits in so beautifully with how we can parent in a different way. So we're not powering over, and we're actually helping our kids with the big feelings that they have. So you'll also learn the 5 steps to ease your child's anxiety, depression, and raging emotions. I'll go into full depth with that. And you'll also receive tonight tools that you can use like straight away. So as soon as you get up tomorrow, you can have a go. And I really invite you to reach out via private message or email just to tell me how it's going, because it's a little bit nuanced and it takes time to get your head around it. And you might even feel like, I don't even know what I'm doing now, because this approach is just so different to how we were raised. But it also makes so much sense. So you'll also receive a downloadable version of this webinar, so don't feel like you have to like copy all the images that I've made. You'll have all of your answers to your questions. You'll get answers to every question that you have about your child. And also we have some beautiful bonuses at the end, which we've been Hanneke and Phil and I, we're the team of KI for Parents and Children. We've had so much fun putting just such beautiful resources together. So we're really happy to share them at the end. So this is me. I'm Bronte Spicer. This is my story. I know some of you I've known for a long time. Some of you I don't know at all, and some in between. So this was me probably on the left-hand side around probably, I would say year 9 or 10, maybe, no, year 11. And you can see that I am covering my face. I have acne, and I'm feeling at this time, I remember this photo being taken, and I was so ashamed of my face because I had blotchy acne and I felt ugly and disgusting and detestable. I didn't want people to look at me because I thought they just would be completely grossed out. And I guess my depression started when I was 14, when my mum and dad separated, and my dad stayed in Thailand and we came back home. Mum was having a breakdown. She was, really having a lot of trouble single parenting, and I just started feeling really weird and strange, and I couldn't really work out what was going on with me. And I was going to see psychologists and counselors, and I just couldn't really put my finger on it, and I just felt weird. And so that was just the start of my depression, and that continued for another 22 years. So I came, wasn't until I stumbled across a set of advanced mindfulness or self-inquiry tools in 2019 called the Killer Bee Inquiries, and that is what completely changed everything for me. But to take you back a step, my depression felt like a big black shadow that will like creep over my shoulders and taunt me. Sometimes I would wake up and just dread, like I had this deep sense of dread for being myself. I felt like there was just something wrong with me, and I felt like a hopeless case that no one could fix. And I had a really strong sense of helplessness. When my depression was really bad, I would go really foggy in the head. I couldn't make decisions. Right before I went on antidepressants around the age of 23, I was a relief teacher, CRT, and then I moved into being a classroom teacher. And you know, that was just me trying to get through the day without crying. I was just this explosion of like a waterfall inside of me. And it just took me all of my effort to be able to get through each day without crying. And every time I cried, I thought that I was falling apart. I was a binge eater. Life was really, really hard. Life got better once I went on antidepressants, but of course it didn't actually take the depression away. I was very happy to find the antidepressants once I did, because it gave me newfound freedom to, you know, not struggle every day. And I could start my career as a teacher and travel the world with my now husband, and, you know, do lots of things like beautiful things like start a family. But it really was just so profound to me when I found the Killer Bee Inquiries. It was the very first time when I had a KI session for the very first time. For the first time, I was shown how to feel safe with the pain from my past. It was the first time I was shown how to feel safe with my immense feelings, which was like dread, depression, just an overwhelming sense of hopelessness. Felt like a loser. So all these techniques showed me how to unhook from these really strong stories, like you're a bad sister, you're a horrible friend, you're a loser, no one wants you, you're unlovable. All of these horrible stories that just used to like scream at me inside my head. So this was like so profound to me once I learned these tools, that I was just so moved to write this book, which is called It's Okay to Cry. Because I was just like, I just spent like 2 decades with psychologists and counselors, and no one showed me how to feel safe with the feelings in my body. And so that's part of my message, that we need to teach our kids how to feel safe with the intense emotions, which we know amp up in their teenage years. So when we've got kids who, you know, before they get to their teens age, to the teenage years, we want them to be equipped with this skill to be able to feel safe with the emotions in their bodies. So, So this is why you should listen to me. I have had lots of experience with children, starting as a classroom teacher at Templestowe Valley Primary School in Melbourne, and then I moved into special ed and worked at Jacana School for Autism, and also worked at Bendigo Special Developmental School. So I've worked with lots of varying, with kids with varying abilities. And then once I had my kids, I trained in meditation and mindfulness, and I found the Killer Bee Inquiries, became a KI facilitator. And then I brought Beyond Belief into the world, which is a program, a 6-month program that helps you resolve your childhood wounds so you can let go of anxiety, depression, and overwhelm. I wrote my book, I brought my podcast out, and that's got some amazing episodes with some incredible experts in the field. One, I'll talk more about significant episodes, but one of them is from Lael Stone, which some of you will know. She's right into aware parenting, and I've just recently done a course with her, and I just learned so much, which I'll be sharing as much as I can tonight with you. And of course now, my work has taken me to really giving the science and the steps to reduce anxiety, depression, and raging emotions to parents and teachers, so our kids don't have to live with anxiety and depression the way I have. I mean, I still, I honor my journey. I know that I had to go through all that, but at the same time, we can do so much better. So very, very excited to bring all this information to you. So this process changed my family in this way. I just had to put this photo because my husband looks so funny. But it's a really good reflection of the sense of play and joy that has come into our lives since we have been using the tools and strategies that I'll be showing you in the webinar. So really, gosh, the mum rage. That just really surprised me. Please jump into the chat box if that is you, and dad rage if we've got any dads here. But gosh, that just came out of nowhere. The mum rage, like I think it was around the time Ivy, who's the middle one in the purple jacket at the back, she was just so stubborn. Like she just always just said no to everything that I asked her to do, particularly getting dressed, and trying to get her out the door was just so hard. And I guess I was just so, because of the way that I was raised, I thought that, well, it was my job to keep things in control and if the kids didn't follow my instructions, then they would just be wild and chaotic, and then I've failed as a parent. I had all these stories, and so I just got so frustrated, and then so angry, and then really, aggressive, and not physical, but aggressive is enough, right? We don't want our kids to feel unsafe in our own company, and at the same time we're human, but that's not permission to be aggressive. And at the same time we can repair when we are human, and we do hit that rage, but certainly the yelling, it just used to happen more frequently than it does now. And yeah, Ivy just pushed all the buttons. She also has had the biggest birth trauma. So, and I'll talk more about that, about how that coincides. And then I've just stumbled upon anger repression. So, I was very aware that as a child, as a teenager particularly, my teenage years were particularly difficult at home, and I was certainly not allowed to be angry. And I'll explain how that can result in depression. And but I hadn't quite joined the dots around how my children were actually, I was encouraging my children to repress their anger, because I didn't want them to act out or be disrespectful or speak out of turn, or it was like, I thought, to be a good parent, I have to make my kids be respectful. But in the process, I have now realized that I was encouraging anger repression, which is it just has major repercussions for their mental health in the long term. Oh, well, I keep doing that. There we go. So my biggest win so far, since using these steps that I'm going to show you tonight, Ivy is happier. Like she's more content. She's the child who, okay, I'll talk a little bit about her birth trauma. She came out very quickly and had wet lung. She had fluid on her lungs. So she was rushed to Melbourne from Castlemaine, and we were actually separated from her during that day. And then overnight there was no bed for me. So she just didn't have her mum or anyone with her for yeah, good 24 hours. And also there was an accident that happened when she arrived. The trolley, when she was coming out of the van, the trolley kind of dropped out of the van. And yeah, I definitely still have feelings myself of just not being there for her. And so what we noticed with Ivy was that she was quite quiet growing up, as in she's still 5. She's only 5, but she was very slow to put words together, and she certainly didn't want cuddles from me, and that was quite hard to have happen, because I just wanted to be close to her. And but what we've noticed is, since using these steps that I'll show you tonight, she just comes up for random cuddles, like for no reason, and she's just so much more connected and happy and content in herself, and she's more cooperative. Like, I don't have to use consequences to get her to do stuff, since using these steps. Now, Jackson, he's 7, and he's the good kid, he's the people pleaser. He does all the right things. But at the same time, he was definitely demonstrating frustration. And so for me, when he was frustrated, I was trying to keep him calm. I was trying to say the right thing or not say the wrong thing, because I thought if he got angry, then he was being disrespectful. And so after learning these steps that I'll show you, I just am so proud that he gets to now grow up knowing how to safely express anger rather than being aggressive or repressing it. He's growing up learning, having a crack at expressing his anger. And, we only need to look at the domestic violence stats to know that is a huge issue, especially in Australia. And our family is close, and we work together to have everyone's needs met. So that's something that we'll talk about. So this is about, for me, I guess, parenting. I definitely had moments of I just don't want to do this every day. This is just too hard. I just want to escape. Do I have to do this again? Do I have to show up like this again? And that's all just kind of dissipated. And actually, I just love being with them. It's just so much better. It's so much more fun. And it's just the depth and connection that we have now is so different. And that's kind of saying I didn't really know I had a problem with. I didn't a few months ago I would have said, yeah, no, everything's fine. But now it's like, oh, wow, okay, I know the contrast. So this is, so my family life changed the moment I chose to really listen to my children's needs. So we're kind of moving into the teaching bit. So behind every undesired behavior is a thought, feeling, or need. So have a think about, and actually, first of all, if you can oh yes, hi Sophie. Oh yeah, mum rage. I never experienced anything like it. I know, right? It just is so explosive, and it's like, where did this even come from? But if you think about when you were a kid, were you allowed to express anger in your home? And if you weren't, we can connect the dots, right? It's like, well, of course we've got this explosive rage, because it's like we haven't been able to express that. And that's what we want to do for our kids, so they don't have that pent up rage and have the same thing happen, right? Because your kids are going to, if we don't show our kids how to express their rage, their anger, someone can put themselves, is that you, Nora? I'm just going to put you on mute there. If we don't show our kids, how to express their anger, then they're going to have the same pent-up rage that then they're going to pass down as just potential generational trauma to our grandkids, right? So it's really important that we get this right and change it now. Sophie, yep, anger was definitely banned in my family of origin. Yep. And Sam, hey Sam, anger as a child was being naughty, exactly, could lead to consequences, exactly, right. So that's a typical way that we were raised, and if you weren't, you're probably the you know, the, what's the word? I think most of us were raised that way. That's right.
The exception.
The exception. Thanks, Sophie. Yeah, awesome. Kylie, yeah, definitely wasn't okay to be angry in my house or you were too sensitive. Yeah, absolutely. So you felt like you were too sensitive, Kylie? I just want to make sure I've got that right. Or if you can't talk right now, that's okay too. No. Oh, so like it was your fault that, I'll just wait. Penny, I was always told I was being too sensitive. Exactly. Yes. Just not allowed to be emotional. Exactly. Yeah. Good. So feel free to keep using the chat. I'd love to hear where you're at and how you are, how you're resonating with this so far. I'm just going to let Leah in here. Okay, so let's have a look here. So if you think about your kids now, behind every undesired behavior is a thought, feeling, or need. So we really need to get away from their being naughty and they're being disrespectful. And actually the reason why they are behaving in this certain way is because they're out of balance. They either have a thought, feeling, or a need. And we'll talk a lot about how they're either in balance or out of balance. They're either feeling connected or they're disconnected. And if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see that this is what's happening underneath the surface. So your children might have, you know, everyday problems and behaviors that they're demonstrating on the surface level, but underneath, this is really what is going on under the surface. There are these stories that are being built as a negative sense of self. So we all have these stories. These are kind of typical teenage stories. I think these were mine actually. I'm dumb, I'm shit, I'm a loser, there's something wrong with me, I'm never good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not enough. So these stories, you know, they are forming within your children. They psychology will tell you that these stories are set in stone by the age of 7. So it's okay. It's human. It's normal to have this negative bias, and it's also part of life to learn how to feel safe with this. And part of my message is that we have put so much emphasis on positive mindset and thinking positively and not worrying about things and actually, you know, just be resilient, when actually we need to teach our kids really tangible ways, practical ways to learn how to feel safe with the negative stories that they have in their head. So what I started doing was really tuning in to my kids, and when they would when Maggie would or Ivy scrunches, we say she scrunches, Maggie would just pinches her arm, Ivy needs something. Or if Maggie is manically laughing at bedtime, she needs something. Or if Jackson is projecting his frustration out on Ivy, he needs something. So it's how can we go towards our kid when they're doing the thing that we don't actually want them to do? When they're doing a behavior that we don't want, they need something. They're out of balance, they're disconnected, they have either thoughts or feelings or a need. Now, this might feel counterintuitive. You might be like, my gosh, I don't even know how I'll have time for this. But that's our job, to look at, well, what are the stories that we're holding that tell us that we don't have the time to sit down and rearrange our life so we can be there for our kids? And in the process, can I just say, I'm the most relaxed I think I've ever been, because I've had to rearrange my life so I do have the time, and I am I'm meeting my needs more because I know that I have to be well resourced to be able to hold the space for my kids' needs and thoughts and feelings. So Sophie, it's a good question. How do we know what the need is? So, and keep the questions coming, everyone. When you have them, just pop them in the chat box. It depends. Just let me know, Sophie, how old your child is. But it could be something like, my children are 3, 5, and 7. And so I'll just say something like, have you got some thoughts? Or have you got some feelings? Or what do you need? It can be that straightforward. Just ask them, and part of that is holding that space for, maybe it might take time for them to get their words out, or maybe they can't quite put their finger on it, but looking at their behavior, that something's a little bit off. So 3 and 5, so you can just ask, and it could be something like they're hungry or they're tired, or maybe they just need a cuddle. Maybe they just need some time. And if you're like, oh my gosh, I just don't have the time, put the timer on. Doesn't mean you have to spend all day with them. But, even just containing that, giving them that structure, then they will, sorry, just lost my train of thought. Having that structure, they'll know that, okay, I've got I've got my mum or dad or whoever it is for this next 10 minutes, and let's go. Now, power reversals are great. So your child might be acting out because they're feeling powerless. And again, I'm going to ask you, how many times when you were a kid did you feel powerless? Like you were out of control, you're just being told what to do all the time. Have a think about when you get up, or if your kids are at school or daycare, what are they doing? Are they getting up and then being told what, ask what or being told to get breakfast, or get dressed and then do their reader if they haven't done it, or their homework, and then get on the bus to school or get to school, and then they are told what to do all throughout school except for recess and lunch, when there's lots of rules. My kids tell me there's lots of rules at school, and then they come home and then they're tired, and then they're told to get out of their uniform and then to do their homework and then to have dinner and have a bath and go to bed, and and then it all starts again. So it's like, how can we create a sense of power for them? So power reversal games are great. And so that can look like, you might just call it, like we call it, like Maggie's rules. So for the next 10 minutes, we put the timer on. It's Maggie's rules, and she gets to decide what game we play. Or it could be something really simple. If you have younger kids, it could be, put this as an Instagram story just recently, where Maggie, she's 3, and she was in between angry and then having a cry. In between this, we played a power reversal game, and that was, she was literally just poking me, and every time she poked me, I went beep, beep, beep. So it's something that she's in control of. So any way that you can give them control, then you'll find that they'll have that sense of power. They are in control. If you're having trouble with like food or going to the toilet or getting dressed, these are all things that your child can control. So if they're having trouble with that, then they need more a sense of autonomy where they can actually choose what they need. Let's have a look back at these messages here. Yeah, the manic plate bedtime. So this is another amazing thing that I just recently learned from Lael Stone. And if you haven't checked out the Aware Parenting podcast, then do, because they've got so much great stuff on there. The manic plate bedtime probably, well, there's a few things here. So it could mean not enough like energy they have energy that they need to express. So again, we've been raised, around, let's just calm down and let's just like put the quiet music on and let's just get all sleepy. But it's like, actually, we want to get the energy out of their bodies so they are relaxed, and then they can fall asleep. So sleep, you need to be relaxed, you need to feel safe, you need to be tired. And if none of those things are there, then the kids are not going to go to sleep. Also, it's like a place of separation and a sense of trust and safety, right? Because your child knows that they're going to be separated from you. So how can we, even though I know how tiring it is at the end of the day, I'm in there with you, how can you shift your expectation of how bedtime routine might go so they are expelling that energy? So it could look like you playing like wrestling or some kind of, running, jumping, dancing, some kind of active movement that's actually going to expel that energy so they are tired and ready for bed. What about teens with teens who aren't as open with emotions or thoughts? Exactly, Narelle. Yeah, so this is the challenge, because we can move into that place of repression when we move as our teens are kind of individuating, they are starting to retreat. And so if those questions are not working, like, you know, what are the thoughts, what are the feelings, what do you need? What I invite you to do, Narelle, is take one step back and then hold the space for them. So, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Hold space and, you know, less probing and more listening and creating a sense of emotional availability for them to then start to reconnect back to you. My husband, hi Sharon, my husband works FIFO every time he's home. My 5-year-old son turns from his sweet self into a very angry, explosive, unpredictable firecracker. We feel like we walk on eggshells. We ask questions. We try to understand what's happening, but we are at a loss. Once his dad returns to work, he expresses grief that his dad has gone back, but also turns back into his sweet self. We can't understand the anger though. Okay, so we will get to this, Sharon. But what I'll just say is that the anger is a good thing. It's actually a healthy thing, and just hang with that. And if you have further questions when I go into that, then please let me know. It's actually a really healthy thing. It's a big thing for your son to have your husband or his dad come and go. So this is his way of expressing what's coming up for him. But I just first and foremost want to say that the anger is not a bad thing. It's actually a really healthy thing. Cool, Narelle. Thanks, Sharon. So Shan, my 4-year-old son has some big anger emotions that is coming out with throwing things. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, it was a sharp knife. Last week, it was a big rock on my head. It is becoming really challenging to hold this space for him, and he's continuing to throw things at me. Yeah. So I'm just going to take a sip of water there. So what I want to say, Shan, is that holding the space is also holding a boundary, and especially with anger. So just to jump ahead with something I'll share a little bit later, is that emotion comes out through expression, aggression, or repression. So we really want to go for expression, but for a 4-year-old, they're not going to know how to do it without, you know, being aggressive sometimes, and that's okay. But at the same time, it's our job to say what's okay and what's not. And so we're not going to let our 4-year-old son or you know, or anyone hurt us in that way or hurt someone else. So you can say things like, look, it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to throw this rock at my head, or it's okay to be angry, and you know, let's how about we punch the pillow, or how about we scream as loud as we can. Or what I found is putting like a pillow or a cushion between me and my, you know, all my kids, actually, because they actually want us to know how angry they are. So that's why he's coming towards you with the feelings, because he wants you to know how big they are. And so it's your job, and it's okay, and it's absolutely healthy to say, no, that's not okay. So I think we can, and I certainly got into this, like, how do we create the space for our children to express their anger without suppressing their expression. But when safety comes in, we have to be really strong in our boundaries, and we have to be that solid tree where we're like, yes, you can do this, but no, this is not okay. So it's like, it's our job to have the voice, and to we're literally guiding them and showing them what is okay and what's not okay. So it's okay to say it's okay to be angry, but yes, exactly, it is okay, and it's great and it's healthy to say it's okay to be angry, but let's do it this way. Or you could give them options like, let's go punch the punching bag, or let's go throw stones at the tree, or let's run around the block, or it could be, yeah, we punch the couch, And then, you know, the most amazing things that I've seen recently with Jackson is he's starting to do this on his own. So they're very adaptable kids, as you all know. So when you just, you know, just shift slightly rather than, no, you know, don't be disrespectful, actually creating the space. And yes, they're going to muck up and they're probably going to break some things, but absolutely not. It's not okay for them to hurt you. And it's okay for you to say that that's not okay. Makes sense? Cool. So I think I've shared a lot of my story already, but I just want to say, if I can create harmony in my family, so can you. My mental health was poor for over half my life. I feel mum rage. I feel like a bad parent sometimes. Sometimes I feel like I'm getting it wrong and I'm failing. I get tired and frustrated and I'm not perfect. Even though I may have more skills than you now, I still started where you might be today. So there's hope and you're in the right place. And some gentle reminders: you are doing the best you can. You are doing the best you can. You are doing an amazing job just keeping these kids alive and you getting through each day. It's big, it's huge. I don't think did any of us really know that it was going to be this hard. Yeah, massive, you know, understanding for our own parents for what they've done. There is no perfect parent. You are learning something new here, so be gentle with yourself. And can you be gentle with yourself and be compassionate and curious as well? All right, so I'm going to bust some myths here. So the first one is, do you believe depression, anxiety, and raging emotions come from the mind? Number 2, you have to use consequences to keep everyone in line and the household running. Number 3, your child should be able to handle their emotions better. I think that's, you know, a big one. It's like, oh, God, they should be able to do this. And even just things in the home, like I used to think, oh, Ivy knows she's like more than capable of putting her clothes on, right? Physically, yes, but emotionally, no. And so it's okay to help our kids because they need help, because they've got thoughts and feelings happening at the same time. They're not robots, like we're not robots, even though all of the structures and systems in our world right now are, you know, treating humans like robots and machines. Actually, we're human beings with emotions and thoughts, and we do move out of balance and we can feel disconnected. And I'll show you the science behind why they can't put their clothes on, or they can't put their shoes on, or they're not willing to pack the dishwasher. And the last myth is feeling your feelings gets you nowhere. I think that's another common one, especially my mum died when I was 24. And I remember my sister saying, oh, I get sad, but oh, well, it gets me nowhere. So I just push it out of my mind. I took that on board for sure, and just repressed the grief for so long, which is okay. That was part of my journey, but let's do things differently for our kids, because feeling your feelings, I'll explain why it's really important. Okay, so myth 1, depression, anxiety, and raging emotions come from the mind, particularly the depression and anxiety. We just think it's a mental illness, so it must be coming from the mind. I'm very happy to explain why it's not. All right, so you can all see this. The root of depression, anxiety, and raging emotions is in the body. I'll explain why. Just recently, in the last probably 10 years, as at a guess, the polyvagal theory has come out, which shows that the nervous system is not binary. So that means it doesn't have 2, it has 3 nervous system states. So you would know the rest, digest state. That's when we're feeling calm and relaxed, and we can be curious about what's happening, and we can be mindful about our thoughts and feelings and about what other people are saying. And then we also know about the fight flight response, which is this top one here. We know that one, or maybe you've heard about the fight flight freeze response. We've always kind of thought of that as one nervous system state. But what the polyvagal theory shows is that there are 3 nervous system states. So the rest digest, which is when your child is connected to themselves, connected to you, and people around them, and also connected to the world. And they're in this window of tolerance. This is where they do feel safe and they're connected. Now, for our kids to cooperate, they must be in this space, because cooperation is when you're working together. So for your child to be to cooperate, they must be connected. They must be connected to themselves. So when they are experiencing the fight-flight response, which is a nervous system state, they're in protection. So this means that they are experiencing a threat. So no, it's not a lion chasing them down. It could be something like maybe they watched their friend at school get in trouble, or maybe their sister is not giving them the space that they need. So this is the hyperarousal. So this is the mobilized one, where you're antsy, you're agitated, irritated, reactive. Yes, you feel unsafe. There's a threat here on a primal level. You might feel angry, fearful, frustrated, rageful, panicky, anxious, worried, and concerned. Now, I'll explain why a little bit later, you can get stuck in this nervous system state, the fight-flight response, and being stuck here can result in anxiety, and it's to do with trauma. I'll explain a little bit later. Now, if you have a look down here, the freeze please response. So this is a completely separate nervous system state to the fight-flight response. Again, it's a protective state. So your child, both of you, applies to everyone. Your child, and Narelle, you talked about your son who, I think it's your son who might not be so open to expressing his thoughts and feelings. This is probably what might be happening, where your child might be feeling unsafe, shutting down, numb, lethargic, unmotivated, ashamed, hopeless, helpless. That's kind of more extreme. But it's generally that repressed, it's repressing, whereas up here, this could be aggressive, or it could be like, I'm feeling really anxious right now. And this is more like I'm shutting down. So depression and anxiety, where this is why I'm so passionate about this. It's like I spent 22 years talking about my problems to people through talk therapy, and it was actually me coming to feel safe with the body sensations that made the depression fall away. Makes sense? Let me know if you have any questions with that. Okay, so this gives you a little bit more information here so that you can talk about, this can be you or your child. The nervous system can get stuck in a trauma response. So again, we've got the fight and flight, which are hyper aroused, and then the freeze please response. And I actually think this would be a valid activity to consider you in this case, because if we're not providing the supports that our children need, then they're going to end up like us. This please one is the one that really, had it just made so much sense for me. Just tell me in the chat box if you can relate to being a people pleaser, whether you have like forgotten what you enjoy doing, or who you even are. Maybe you haven't felt like you belonged. Maybe you just don't have strong opinions. Maybe you just feel like you can't actually express your opinion in a conversation, or your opinion isn't valid. This is all me. No boundaries, difficulty saying no, codependent, avoiding conflict. This is another big one, that when we repress anger, we don't necessarily feel safe with other people who are moving into that conflict space, into that fight response, which again, we don't get our needs met when we can't manage how other people are responding or reacting, putting others first, overwhelmed. Yep. So Narelle, Sophie, Hanukkah, Sharon, yep, and Chanel, yep. So it's so interesting, right? So these are all trauma responses. So really we want to support our kids to not have these responses, and they're probably going to have these responses on some level, but let's just not make this a chronic response. The freeze, this is really the essence of this is depression. So stuck, dissociated, isolating, numb, difficulty making decisions, spacing out, depression, shame, and feeling lethargic. So, you know, and what I'm seeing at school is that the punitive consequences that we're using in school, like which is the behavior system, that's built on do this thing and you'll get this reward, or if you don't do this thing, you'll get this punishment. This is actually encouraging repression, which is why we're seeing a lot of disengaged students and teenagers. So this is the fight response. You know, this is where we get aggressive, anger outburst, controlling, the bully, narcissistic, explosive, irritable, aggressive. And the flight response, another interesting one: workaholic, overthinker, anxiety, fear, difficulty sitting still, panic, OCD, chronic worry, perfectionist. So this is, you know, these are real trauma responses, and it's the answer in my, you know, from my own experience, is it's in the nervous system, it's in the body, it's in learning how to feel safe. Yeah, all of the above in one day sometimes, exactly. Yeah, and we can just hold a sense of compassion for ourselves, and you know, hopefully this information can help you put some labels to some things. So and then of course we have the KI for Parents and Children course with the 4 one-on-one sessions to help you process what's come up for you, so then we're not projecting all that onto our kids. And yeah, they don't have to live with anxiety and depression and that repressed rage. So the truth about myth 1, also trauma is stored in the body. So let me just explain to you that what trauma is. Trauma is an experience that overwhelms your capacity to cope. Gabor Mate is an amazing trauma expert. If you haven't checked his all his work, but also The Wisdom of Trauma, it's a great documentary to watch, and he's got lots of mind-body, as a doctor, lots of mind-body connection, but also great information about trauma. Trauma is not necessarily what's happened to you, but it's what's happened inside of you as a result of what's happened to you. So it is more of the subjective meaning that you've placed on what's happened, which is an automatic response. It's coming from the autonomic nervous system. This is an automatic response. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person because you've made this certain situation or experience mean something bad. It happens naturally, and so does your physiology. Your physiology, and I'll show you how, will respond automatically. So this trauma happens naturally. It happens automatically, and your child has experienced trauma. So there's lots of different types of trauma. Developmental trauma is the one that everyone's experienced developmental trauma, which is those little moments in our lives where we're like, maybe our mum was pointing our finger, maybe your mum was pointing her finger at you, and you made that mean in that moment that you were a bad kid. Or maybe a big grade 6 kid came and told you that you were ugly, and then you decided from then that you were ugly, detestable, and unlovable. So we've all had those experiences, and what happens is that your nervous system fights or flights. Then there's lots of brain changes. So your brain sends out cortisol so you can move and mobilize. Also, the cortisol affects the hippocampus, and the hippocampus is responsible for memory. And so this is when we have a traumatic experience, because our whole self, or how body and brain is overwhelmed, we have an overwhelming amount of information and sensory input, and it's so big that we can't make sense of it. And part of this process of trauma is that the hippocampus goes offline, And then we can't integrate the experience, and the emotional memory from the experience stores in the body as unprocessed memory, unprocessed emotional memory, or it's emotional baggage, right? The typical word is emotional baggage. So we're all carrying emotional baggage, and the more emotional baggage that we hold, the more we will project or will experience that will rise to the surface, especially when our kids push our buttons. So it's our job to process and integrate those memories that we have, those moments that we had, and unhook from those stories, those beliefs that we have made that mean. So we're not carrying these stories because they're really not true. It's like they're just stories in our heads that we believe to be true. So myth 2, you have to use consequences to keep everyone in line and the household running. When I interviewed Lael Stone, she was like, oh, and we have to take punitive consequences out. But most of the parents I talk to say, well, how else do we do it? And I had to backtrack her and just say, well, that's me. Like, how else do we run a household without taking something away if they don't do something? So this is how things are different. Let's grab some water. So if you come back to the 3 nervous system states, we've got this safe, rest, digest, which is the calm one that we all know. And then we've got the fight, flight, which is that anger versus, it could be aggressive or it could be anxious. We're kind of hyper aroused. And then we also have the freeze, please response, or freeze, fawn response, it's called sometimes, which again is a protective mechanism, and it's the hypo arousal. So we go lethargic, slow, we conserve our energy. Now, I touched on this before, for our children to cooperate at home, they must be connected. So we need to, when we see our children not cooperating or they're not willing to do the thing that we've asked them to do, it means that they're either some level in this fight, flight response, or they're in the freeze, please response. And I would just want to say that they are interplaying. So all 3 responses are interplaying all the time. It's not so static or rigid that, okay, we're shifting into ventral, now we're shifting to fight, flight, now we're shifting into freeze, please. There isn't like an interplay. But this is what we want to do, is if our child is not cooperating, it's because they're out of balance, because they're disconnected and they're in some level of protection. So it's our job to help them return back to this rest, digest. And from this place of connection with themselves and you, then they'll start cooperating. Now, I just want to say, if they have, if they're experiencing anger, and this was me for many years, meditation teacher, it was all about being calm, staying calm. If they are angry, then we want to help them express their anger. And then what we need to know about anger is that anger is protecting sadness. So really, when our children are getting frustrated and angry, they are protecting sadness. So what we want to do is help them express their anger. So then they get to the sadness, and then they have the tears or come in for a cuddle. And then that's really the emotion that is having them out of balance. So once they've had the anger expression and then that they've expressed their sadness, then they will naturally come back into balance, back into this connective state. It's quite amazing. I had such a moment. I'll quickly share. Couple of months maybe now ago with my son Jackson, and I could see he was getting frustrated, and I was learning about how, I used to like play things down and try not to get him worked up because I didn't want him to get angry, and I tried to say the right thing, tried not to say the wrong thing. Anyway, I was starting to learn about how to hold space for him to express his anger, to get it out. Like, think about it as rubbish. We want it out of the body, because if it's not out of the body, if it's not expressed, or if it's not, you know, it could be projected as aggression onto their siblings generally, or you. But if that doesn't happen, it's repressed, right? And then that's emotional memory that's stored in the body that can lead to depression. So it's so important that we help our kids to express the anger when it comes up. So I did this. There was definitely a part of me that was like, oh my gosh, I'm a little bit scared about this anger. And this has been my work recently, to learn how to feel safe with reactions and aggression. And I can tell you from my own childhood, I had aggression in my home as a teenager, and it was very scary. So this has been a beautiful healing part of my journey, to learn how to feel safe with other people's aggression. But it's our job as the parent to hold the space for our child as they express anger. And just as we were talking about with Shan before, this is not about allowing them to be aggressive. Absolutely not. They need boundaries and structure, but they need you to be present, and they need you to hold and be big enough to hold the space, so they know that you're not going on anywhere, and then that you are there to help them with this big feeling. Once that's happened, then the sadness will come, and that's really what we want to get to. And then the limbic system will reset, and then they'll come back into balance. So I just want to explain, it's not just about, okay, you're getting worked up, right, let's do some deep breathing. Like, it's not that. That's like old school now. I'm telling you, we have to show our kids how to express anger. Okay, myth 3, my child should be able to handle their emotions better. Yeah, so it's a big one. Like, we just expect so much of our kids. My child is so emotional. We say there's something wrong with my child, and that's okay. You know, we have been raised in the same system where we think if we don't do something, then we're bad, or we failed, or we're wrong. So it's like we are all a product of a really shitty way, you know, system of you're right, you're wrong, like an authoritarian approach where you don't have as much, you're not as valued as the teachers or parents around you. So we just need to be compassionate with ourselves, because we weren't taught this, right? So it's like, okay, now we know, we have the tools, and this is why Hanneke and Phil and I are so thrilled to bring this work to you, because it's like, okay, you finally can have the tools to learn how to process your own thoughts and feelings, and then you can show your kids how to do this. So the truth about myth 3, we learn to self-regulate through co-regulation first. So the 3 principles of polyvagal theory are hierarchy, neuroception, and co-regulation. Hang on a sec. So co-regulate, I'll go through all 3 because they're so fascinating. But co-regulation basically means that, well, let's just go back to your child. Your child their nervous system is still forming. It's not fully developed. So for them to expect them to be able to self-regulate is just inappropriate. It's just not even possible. It's not physically possible for them to self-regulate. The way children regulate their nervous system is through co-regulation. So they are learning, their nervous system will naturally regulate when they are around you. So that's even more the reason why you need to know how to do the work to process your own stuff, so you can hold the space and be that safe place for your child to come to when so they can co-regulate with you. We can also co-dysregulate with others, and that happens, right? So we're having a mini disagreement or fight argument thing with our partner, or maybe we're just ticked off by our kids, and yes, we're wired and then they're wired, and we are absolutely scientifically affected by each other. And that is co-dysregulation. So what we're going for here is co-regulation. So our kids actually need us to co-regulate with. And this goes for teenagers as well. So they're still learning. They're still very much learning. We want to move out of that space of power over and trying to keep things in control, and we want to choose compassion and learn how to tune into what needs they have that are not being met, and how can we support them to meet their needs. And yes, it takes time, and it's also really such a gift to slow down that much, to then spend quality time with your most favorite people, right? Okay, so neuroception is this. Through your body, you have receptors on your skin everywhere, like so many receptors on your body that are always looking and scanning to see if there's a threat in your environment. So that will then send messages to the brain to decide to send messages to the autonomic nervous system to start activating the fight, flight response or the freeze response. And so that, again, is not a lion chasing your child down the street. It's like maybe your son has got a maths project to do and he just can't do it. Or maybe a friendship thing went down, or maybe some social media bullying is going on. So they're all, typical things that our kids are dealing with. Now, the hierarchy is also so fascinating and really gave me so much information around my own depression. So social engagement is the calm, rest, digest stage. This is where your kids are going to be more cooperative. Also, for teachers online, they're going to be more engaged in the classroom when they are in this space. Now, hierarchy means that the fight flight response kicks in first when there's a threat, and then the freeze please response is the secondary response. So tell me if you can relate to this, either in your child or in you, where you have or they have experienced, traumas, developmental trauma over time. Perhaps they've been showing signs of anxiety or aggression. And then as they've gotten older, they've moved into that sense of repression, shutting down, retreating, withdrawing, not socializing, not really talking to you and showing, telling you what's really going on. So what I want to say is we want to keep the communication lines open. And that doesn't mean necessarily that you get everything out of them. This is more creating a safe space for them to then feel so safe that they will start to see you as a safe person to come and talk to about, and then you can guide them to process their thoughts and feelings, which I'll show you a little bit later. So I'd love to know in the comments if you guys are, if you can relate to that information. So the truth about myth 3, meltdowns, tears and tantrums are healthy for your child. So I've already talked about this. I won't talk too much about it, but it's not a bad thing. We need to get comfortable with, I don't know if this is just me, but sometimes I hear judgmental thoughts in my head about parents who have a child that's melting down, and I think, oh God, that parent's doing a horrible job. Like, it's just all these stories that have been passed down generation by generation. And actually, this is a very natural and healthy way for our children to express their thoughts and feelings through melting down, through tears and tantrums. And what happens is that this is a natural way for them to come back into balance. So you want to celebrate it. You want to be like, yes, let it out. I'm so glad you're doing such a beautiful job. You're like letting the tears out. I can see you're really sad, and that's okay. And I love you just as you are. And you can be as sad for as long as you want. All of these things I really wish that I had when I was depressed. What I got instead was, what are we going to do with you? There's something wrong here. There's something wrong with you. And I internalized that story for a really long time. So we don't want to do that for our kids. We want to say, I can see that you're really upset, and I'm here with you, and I love you, and you can take as long as you want. And, soothing practices like rubbing their back, even just asking them, do you want me to rub your back? And can I just say, if they're in that aggressive state or they're experiencing anger, they might be like, no, and like be triggered. And they might even tell you to go away. And it's your job to stay there. You might say, I'm just going to take a step back here, but I'm not going to go away. Because if you think about it, when you were angry, did you want your parents to go away? Did you want to be left alone? No, you just wanted to be loved. So it's our job to be big enough to hold our own thoughts and feelings, hold space for ourselves, so we can hold space for our kids, knowing that it's not going to last. It's going to probably be about 10 minutes, or maybe it's going to be hours. And that absolutely happens for some parents. And I'm just like honoring you for all the moments and minutes and, you know, perhaps hours that you've spent with your kids. And your kids just need that. And it's our job to do that for our kids, because they're going to come out so much more well-rounded with the skills and the capacity to manage their mental health in the future. Myth 4, feeling our feelings gets us nowhere. So it's so good when the science comes out. So I found this from the University of Toronto just recently. It's actually from Scott Killaby, who's one of the co-developers of the Killaby inquiries. And it shows that feeling sensations actually reduce the relapse of depression. So what I mean by feeling sensations is, you know, some people are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So anxiety could be a tightness in your chest, or grief could be a heaviness in your heart, or anger could be buzzing in your jaw or in your fingertips. Maybe it's like a pounding in your head. Maybe the shame is like red cheeks, like a hot flush through your cheeks. So that's what I'm talking about. So the more that you and your child are connecting to the body sensations, the more you're reducing the rage, depression, anxiety. It's resolving the trauma. It's integrating the emotional memory that's stored in the body, and it creates safety and connection. So when your child is integrating their, you know, what's happened for them, then they are learning to reside in a sense of safety and connection. That's when the world isn't too scary. That's when they do want to go to school. That's when they, and, you know, if they don't want to go to school, that's okay too. That's all welcome. It's, you know, we just be with our children with whatever is arising for them. But for me, like, coming out of depression, and then I had anxiety, which again is correlates with the principle of the polyvagal theory, the hierarchy, because it's like we're thawing out of that freeze state, and then it's like, oh shit, I'm in the world and I can feel everything. And that's when the anxiety is. And it's really recently that I have experienced more of this sense of safety, that I'm safe in this world, I'm safe in this body, I'm safe to be Bronte, I'm safe with these people, I'm safe with these reactions that these people are having. This is not mine, but I can still verbalize my opinions. I can still have that sense of self and be a part of this. Okay, I'll just check the chat box. Thank you, Shan. Great. Any questions, just keep them coming. So the number one trap most parents fall into is trying to make everything better, calmer, and more controlled for their children with punitive consequences and positive solutions. We've talked a lot about that already. I'm just going to say it might look a bit messy, and it might, again, I said it before, it might feel like you don't even know what you're doing, but know that this is unlearning to learn a completely different way that we all wanted as kids, right? We all just wanted to be loved. We wanted our parents to be present, and we wanted to be heard. And so we can do that with this. We can do that with these steps. So if we've already talked about this, the aggression. So emotions can come through 3 avenues: aggression, repression, or expression. So this is the one that we're going for, expression, which is that connective state. That's through the rest digest state, but also expression of anger. You know, it may not look like you or you know, in balance. It may look like chaotic and messy, and that's okay, because our kids need space to have a go and try. And this is the hypoarousal, freeze, please, and this is the fight flight. So it's okay if they're, you know, they might be aggressive, they might repress, and that's okay. And what our job is to show them how to express. And we need to learn how to do that ourselves so we can show our kids. So the benefits of allowing children to feel their emotions is they learn to feel safe with themselves, their thoughts and their feelings. They become equipped and resourced to handle any thought or feeling that life throws them. So they don't have to like escape their bad memories and black them out, or they don't have to, you know, always try and think positively. And for anyone who's experienced depression, you'll know that that is very exhausting. We just need to stop telling our people who have depression to think positively, because they actually just can't. They just cannot. And the more that we tell people with depression that they have to think positively, the more hopeless they feel. What we want to do is meet them where they're at and let them be as tired, lethargic, negative as possible. And that's, again, our job to process our resistance. You know, maybe it's like, oh, but I want to fix them. Well, it's like, you've got feelings about that. So it's your job to come into the body and feel and process that feeling, so you're emotionally available for your child who's experiencing depression. They become confident, engaged, and intrinsically motivated people in the world. So we don't want people pleasers, do we? I mean, if you can relate to the please response, do we want our kids to end up like that? Like not feeling like, especially girls, I know, not feeling like they're smart enough to express their opinions. Do we really want that? Do we want another generation of that? Or do we want to equip our kids with the capacity to put words to their needs, to speak their own needs and opinions and you know, what they think about the world? Okay, so I'm going to move now into it's taking longer than I thought, but hopefully you're finding this really interesting. Shan, I've certainly done repression most of my life. I can see my 10-year-old daughter does this. We are learning together. Exactly, that's it. And it's never too late. Everything can be resolved and healed, right? With these tools. It's like, yes, it's okay. Like, the fact that you're here is very exciting, because it's like, okay, you're going to learn the tools and we can do this differently. I absolutely love this too. Thanks, Kylie. It all makes so much sense. So many of us have been taught to suppress our emotions and disconnect from our feelings. This is such important work. Yeah, thank you, Kylie. All right, so the 5 steps to ease your child's anxiety, depression, and raging emotions. Step 1 is, first and foremost, let go of your own thoughts and feelings. So you've got to process your own thoughts and feelings first. Step 2, then you self-regulate so you can co-regulate for your child. Step 3 is to hold space for you and your child. So this is more of that moving into emotional availability and being there, meeting them where they're at. Step 4 is to guide your child to let go of their thoughts and feelings. So this is where we kind of move into the KI, the Killer Bee inquiries, which are the self-inquiry or advanced mindfulness tools that we teach in KI for parents and children. It's also the tools that healed my 22-year bout of depression. And step 5, guide your child to let go of stuck thoughts and feelings, because we all have stuck thoughts and feelings, and often we'll talk ourselves out of feeling, or we'll try and analyze it or cognize our way out of thinking, you know, trying to make it make sense in our heads. But actually, it's like so freeing to come into the body and learn how to feel safe with your feelings, your emotions. Such freedom. Gone the other way. Hang on a sec. Okay. Just going to grab some more water. And actually, if anyone wants just a stretch, grab some water, tea. I'm hoping that I'll finish this within the 2 hours, and I really would love to, I mean, we've got Q&A happening here anyway. If you've got questions as you keep going, yeah, then please pop them in here. Good, thanks, Leah. This is so great. My husband and I are watching and loving it. Great. Oh, so good. Awesome. step 5, Shan, we'll get to it. So we're going to go into a little bit more depth about for each now. So step 1, first you've got to let go of your own thoughts and feelings. So I'm going to show you when you have we have an amazing concept in the Killer Bee Inquiries called the Velcro effect, and it's when your thought is stuck to your feeling. So let's just say your child has anxiety and you're feeling like there's something wrong and you just worry about them constantly. And what's happening here is you have a thought about that. So the thought could be, I'm worried about my child. And the feeling could be a tightness or a heaviness in your chest. Now, if we break up the thought is made up of 2 things. And if you can watch me in the little box, if you can see me, I have a pink ball, and this is one part of the thought. So one part of the thought is words. So the thought is, I'm worried about my child. And the other part of the thought is a picture. So words and pictures make up a thought. That's all a thought is, words and pictures in your mind. The picture could be a picture of your child who's anxious. And then the body sensation is the feeling. That's the emotion. We really do really overcomplicate emotions, but they are simply body sensations, nothing else. So we call this the Velcro effect when the words, pictures, and body sensations are stuck together. So you can see here, we have a problem here. This is your problem right now, or, you can relate to your own problem. But right now, the example is that your child is anxious. So that's a problem that's sitting in your body, actually. So it's like emotional baggage just sitting there. Now, you can think about your child is probably, feeling anxious because you're worried about them being anxious. And they have, this is like a year's worth of emotional baggage sitting in their body. Now, however old they are, they've got this amount, this many, say they're 5, they've got 5 of these in their body. If you're 40, you've got 40 of these in your body if you haven't been doing any inner work or you haven't had the tools to process your own thoughts and feelings, which I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing with you, because this was me, up until about 3 or 4 years ago, until I found the Killer Bee Inquiries, because I was just talking about my thoughts and feelings and venting and, getting some kind of reprieve and relief, but really not getting to the root of it. So this is what we're all carrying as emotional baggage. So what we do, what we'll show you in the KR for Parents and Children's course, is to learn how to befriend the thought or unhook from the thought and let go of the thought, and then befriend the feeling, feel the feeling, and let go of the feeling. So remembering, I was talking about that emotional memory or trauma that's stored in the body, you're actually processing and releasing that. So you're not carrying it, and it's not being activated every time your child does something that really irritates you. So the boomerang here is here to explain to you about one of our most favorite tools in the Killer Bee Inquiries. If you can think of a boomerang, it's something that you throw out to the world and then it comes back to you. So this is the technique that you use to find the deficiency story or the core, the root of the problem that you have right now. So let's use this example that your child is anxious and you're worried. So the question to ask is, this is using the boomerang, and you can write this down. The question is, if that was to say something about me, that my child is anxious, or you can add in the problem that you have with your child right now. If that was to mean something about me, or if that was to say something about me, what would that be? And let's use the chat box. Feel free to add, what's the deficiency story, the core belief, the negative belief here that you're telling yourself about yourself because your child is anxious, or because your child is the way they are. Maybe they're depressed, or maybe they have raging emotions. If this was to say something about you, what would that be? Or if this meant something about you, what would that be? Great. Shan, I'm not a good parent. Kylie, I'm a bad mum. Yep, beautiful. So I don't know what I'm doing. Beautiful, Galinda. Narelle, I've let him down. Yes, exactly. Thank you so much, everyone, for being so open and authentic. Nicole, I'm not enough. And see how you're not alone in this, everyone? Like, we're all experiencing the same. I've not done enough work. Yes, Siri, thank you. So this is the root of your distress, your problem. So what you want to do first is process this. And in the Killer Bee Inquiries, KI for Parents and Children course, we show you the exact steps to know how to process your own stuff, so you can come back into balance yourself and then hold that space for your child. Thank you. All right, we'll go to the next one. So how do we go? Oh, there we go. Okay, so step 2 is to self-regulate and co-regulate. So this is a great, these are what you really want to do is you want to regulate your own nervous system. So we're going to go through a couple of little techniques here that will help you self-regulate. And this is all about how can we all get our needs met? So you, your partner, your kids, everyone in the home, or whoever else is in the home, how can we all get our needs met here? So this is not about like just your kids getting everything, or this is not just about, your kids doing things so life is easier for you. This is like, you are all human beings and you all have needs, and every person's needs are important. So these are some beautiful techniques that you can do, and in our course we have a whole heap more. So vagus nerve activation is this, so do it with me, and this will just help you relax as well. Put your hands behind your head, just like the man, and you put your eyeball, without moving your head, you put your eyeballs, shift them to the left-hand side of your eye sockets, and you're looking there for 30 seconds, just looking at a point for 30 seconds. This is something that you can do when you're about to lose it. You can go to another room and you can put your full attention on putting your eyeballs to the left-hand side of your eye sockets for 30 seconds. Once you've done that, shift to the right. So shift your eyeballs to the right-hand side of your eye sockets for 30 seconds. As far as you can go to the right without moving your head. This is called the vagus nerve activation. And coming back when you're ready, and just all the time, whenever we do nervous system regulation techniques, we come back to notice how it feels. While you're here, you might notice the physical sensations that are here, rather than trying to shy away or get rid of them. Can you find the space around them? Can you find where the sensation ends? Can you make more space for these sensations? See if they want to move or get bigger. Can you say thank you for arising to these sensations? Can you go with these sensations? So if it's tight, can you make it tighter? Give it full permission to be tight. If it's hard, can you make it harder? If it's hot, can you make it hotter? If it's heavy, maybe it wants to drop lower in the body. All of these amazing practical tools that we teach in KI for Parents and Children help you come back into balance, so then you can co-regulate. So the next one is pat, stroke and soothe. So this is literally just patting your chest or stroking your arms, giving yourself a hug or swaying. If you can think about being a baby, or when your child was a baby, you would have rocked them. That's a natural response that we do to help form their nervous system. So this is, how can you reparent yourself? How can you support yourself? How can you parent yourself? Because no one's coming. You've got to do it for you. So how can you pat, stroke and soothe yourself with your own hands? And squeeze and melt. So this one's where you put your arms up like like this woman, and you squeeze and you try and make your shoulder blades touch. And as you do that, you breathe in. And as you breathe out, you like drop your arms and just melt the top of the body. And again, so you're kind of going like to, from one extreme to the other, like squeezing, like stress, you're just like creating as much tension as possible. And then doing the opposite, melting. Do that a few times. And that always feels amazing. So you want to self-regulate. So if you're getting worked out, it means that you're out of balance and you need your needs met. And it might mean, can I just say, it might mean that you put a movie on. If it's better to put a movie on than yell at them, right? So if that's all you can do, we all have those days, that's okay. Okay, so step 3, hold space for you and your child. So meet you both where you are. Listen, allow for integration. Often we can be like, we're trying to fix, maybe they come home from school and something's happened at soccer training, and we come up with all these suggestions of how they can do something different or fix the problem. And really we're a bit like, okay, I've got dinner to cook and I've had a massive day and I just want to fix this problem so I can have time to myself. But actually what our kids need is for us to listen to them. We are holding the space. So you're holding the space for you and your own responses, your own physical sensations that are arising. You'll also notice thoughts like, I don't have time for this, or I don't have the energy for this. How can you hold a sense of compassion for that thought? And if you don't know how to do that, that's what we'll show you in the KI for Parents and Children course. And you are saying things like, you're listening first and foremost. You're listening to them, like say things like, tell me more. Tell me all about it. What else happened? And how did you feel? You want to ask those questions so they feel a sense of safety to express with you. So you can say things like, I can hold your anxiety. Your anxiety is not too big for me. I'm with you through your depression. I love you even when you're depressed. They need to know that. They need to know that verbally from you. You need to say, you might be thinking that already, but they need to hear it, right? Because if you think back to when you were a child, you might have had stories like me. I just felt unlovable. I just felt like I was unwanted. And really, my mum was just really tired, and she loved me. But we need that reassurance as kids. So you can give that to your kids. You can say, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to help you with this. I love you even when you're feeling upset. Your anger isn't too big for me. I'm not going to let you hurt me, but I can't read. I'll just get that out of the way. But you can punch this pillow. So you're giving them an alternative. So allowing for integration means that, we are so quick to solve the problem for them that we're not actually hearing them. And our kids don't feel heard, just like we didn't feel heard when we were kids, right? Mostly. Oh, it's a big call, but that's certainly how I felt. And it's certainly how a lot of my clients in Beyond Belief felt as well. So how can we create the space so we are heard? We can hear ourselves. It's our job to hear ourselves. And it's also our job to listen to our children. Step 4 is to guide your child to let go of their thoughts and feelings. So here is we can't obviously show you everything on this webinar, but this is how we show you in KI for Parents and Children how to guide your child to let go of their thoughts and feelings. We ask you to ask your child. It works amazingly, even with my 5-year-old. It's just so fascinating that it just works so well. And this is what healed my depression. You ask them to imagine that they've got an imaginary iPad in front of their eyes and shoot the thing that they don't want there, the thought, right? It could be a scary monster, or it could be a bad thought, like a thought for your teenager. It could be like, I'm dumb. Once you know what the story is, and you don't even need to ask them to get to the deficiency story, it could just be a thought like, this is hard, or this is too hard. Ask them to put and shoot the thought, like the words or the picture for the little kids, onto an imaginary screen. And I'm just always amazed at how well kids can do this. It's so simple. And this was such a life changer for me when I learned. I still remember putting the words "I'm a loser" up on this screen. I was like, oh my gosh, is that all I had to do? Just like let this thought be here. So this is how we watch thoughts and be mindful about thoughts without getting pulled into them. We imagine that there's an imaginary iPad in front of their eyes, and you ask them to shoot them up on there. And then we use all these tools to help them feel safe with the thought itself. So we use, breathing, we use a sense of compassion, gratitude. I can't go through all of these, but what happens is that when you use these tools, the thought falls away. It goes away naturally. So without you resisting it, the thought goes away on its own. It's like almost magical. And then the next step is to feel the feelings in the body. So these are, you'll get the download, but the downloadable versions of this, but this is also just the start, but such key questions that you can ask. You can ask them, how are you feeling? The next question must always be, where can you feel that in your body? If they're up to it, obviously. How big is it? Can you find the space around it? What kind of feeling is it? Can you rub it and tell it can stay as long as it likes? Can you breathe with it? Does it have a message for you? How is it helping you? All of these questions will resolve your child's trauma that is resulting in the stuck nervous system. It's resulting in their depression and anxiety and raging emotions, especially as the kids get into their teenage years. But I'm doing this with my 5-year-old. So it's like, it's absolutely accessible and it's easy. And the more you use these tools and techniques, the more accessible it will feel to guide your child to do it, to use it. The last step is to guide your child to let go of stuck thoughts and feelings. So this is thoughts over here, and this is feelings. So we all have stuck thoughts. We know what that's like. Like we'll be worried about a thing that we said 2 days or like 5 days ago, and we're still feeling like an idiot. That could be the negative belief. And so what we want to do is, first of all, find out what again, there's so many tools here, but this is just a small kind of bite-sized chunk for you to take away. What you can do is find out first, what's the negative belief? So you can use the boomerang here. Maybe you made a fool of yourself. Well, actually, let's go with the kids. Let's just say your child feels embarrassed because they fell over at the Book Week parade. And you might like to ask them, oh God, or you might say, oh, that would just be horrible. I'm so sorry that happened to you. If that happened to me, I would be so upset. And so I'd be feeling ashamed. How do you feel? And then you might say, like, is there a story in your head? Like, is your mind telling you a story that's negative about you? Like, do you feel dumb or silly or stupid? Like for kids, you'll need to give them examples and give them context, right? Like say, well, sometimes our minds like tell us stories, and like, is your mind saying something like, yeah, you're stupid, or like you're an idiot? So find out what the story is, and then you can, use the iPad. But if the thought stays stuck, there will be a utility, we call it here. So they're benefiting it in some way. So this is where victimhood and victim consciousness can come in, where we actually self-sabotage because we're getting something out of it. So you can ask them, well, what are you getting out of, how are you winning? How is this helping you have this thought here? Because this thought is hanging around because it's stuck here. It's helping you in some way. How is it helping you? And then we start to realize that, gosh, the world is so safe that even the things that we think are painful and horrible and thoughts and feelings that we have to get rid of, actually, they're damn helping us. So it's quite, spiritual awakening, absolutely, no doubt about it. And then this over here is feeling. So if you have a stuck feeling, again, this goes for adults, absolutely, as much as our kids. If they have a feeling stuck in their body, it's either, I've found it's two things. It's either got a message for you or it's helping you in some way. So you want to ask them, and also be open to the possibilities that your child will just get the answer. They're more intuitive than us because then their intuition isn't shut down. So their inner guidance system is more connected online than most of us. So you can ask questions like, if this feeling, let's just say they have butterflies in their stomach, And this is a really true example of, I think, Ivy just recently. She had butterflies in her stomach, and I said, what was it? I can't remember. I'm just going to make one up. So you could just, let's just say your child is scared, worried about Book Week Parade, let's just say, and you say, that feeling, the butterflies in the stomach aren't going away. So then you can say, does it have a message for you? If those butterflies had a message for you, what are they trying to tell you? Or if those butterflies were in there helping you in some way, what are they doing? Right? So you make it playful. So these are the 5 steps to ease your child's anxiety, depression, and raging emotions. Let go of your own thoughts and feelings. So first, do your own inner work. You've got to have the tools. If you don't know the tools, you're completely like everyone else. None of us were raised, well, I don't know anyone that was raised with these tools as, as powerful as KI especially, but we certainly weren't taught how to let go of and process our own thoughts and feelings at school. I certainly didn't know how to teach my students as a teacher. We talked a lot about emotions, but there was nothing about learning how to feel and process and integrate trauma, or even just big thoughts and feelings. So that's what you need to learn how to do first. Then you can self-regulate, so they can co-regulate with you. Know that they cannot do it themselves. Their nervous system is still forming. Step 3 is to hold the space. So listen. You are the safe place for your child to come to, and you're encouraging them. You're asking them how they are, asking them to tell you more. And then this is where the KI comes in, particularly guide your child to let go of their thoughts and feelings, and guide your child to let go of stuck thoughts and feelings, because that happens to everyone. So remember, your child will stay stuck if you continue to believe they need to behave. They're not being disrespectful if they're getting angry. They need to move on. It's not that they're not being resilient. They actually just are human beings, and they have thoughts and feelings, and they're going to be okay. And actually they're going to be better if you hold the space for them to have the thoughts and feelings before they move on. They're going to naturally be resilient once they've integrated their thoughts and feelings. It's healthier that way. Otherwise they're repressing them. They're stuffing it down, and they should be better at emotional regulation. It's just not true. I mean, we're all doing our best, and we're in our 30s, 40s, and so on. Do not give them advice without receiving permission. So you can say things like, are you open to, would you like some advice? Or would you like some help with that? Or do you want me to give you a suggestion? Rather than going in, jumping and trying to fix their problem, because they know their answers. They're very intelligent. They will come up with their own answers. They just need the time and the trust from you to know that you are with them as they find their own way. So tell me, if you haven't already, why are you here with me? What's your child doing? Is your child depressed or anxious or aggressive? And what's happening with you? Are you exhausted? Are you looking for new ways to best help your child? What's happening for you? If you can tell me in the comments, in the chat box, that would be amazing. And as you do that, let's have a look at what you can do right now. So creating connection, safety with your child is something you can get started with right now. So play is amazing. Play, 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 play. Play is our kids' love language. So they want to play. So they want to play with you. If that's really difficult for you and you're not really a player, I hear you. I can definitely relate to that. But at the same time, I have found a newfound joy playing and being present with the people I love the most through play. So if a timer helps, put the timer on. And remember, there's always an unmet need behind every behavior. So whenever they're out of balance and they're doing something you don't want them to do, it'll be because they have a thought, feeling, and need. So remember that no feeling is too big. Just take one step at a time. When there's a meltdown, say yes to it. This is a healthy thing. We want to go towards it. If there's frustration, anxiety, depression, this is the work. This is more important than cleaning the house. The work is in connection, not cleaning, I heard someone say just recently. Galinda Thierry, episodes which turn to rage around doing maths. Exactly. Yes, we have real trouble with maths in our home too. And Narelle, teen depression, anxiety, and bulimia. Yep, 7-year-old foster child trauma and ODD. Okay, so you got two children. Yep, beautiful. Okay, thank you so much. Yep. So if you have questions specifically about your children, now's the time to pop them in the chat box, and I'll help you as much as I can. 15 minutes. So if there's one thing that you can take away from today, Phil, Hanneke, and I from the Killer Bee Inquiries for Parents and Children, we've cracked the code to raging emotions, depression, anxiety, and the tools we teach in our course, KI for Parents and Children, are backed up by all the latest neuroscience, which you've learnt about tonight. But there's also so much more. We've tried to pack in as much as we can without overloading you. So life can be different where your needs are met. You feel supported in your parenting. I know for me, parenting has felt really isolated in my own home. Just not the support network that I thought that, might, magically appear. And just to have that support and that space to ask questions about parenting, for me has been amazing. And also just to have the tools to process my own stuff. So I'm not so reactive, and then I can hold the space and be emotionally available for my kids. And my kids are just so much more like loving and close to me. And it's just amazing. It's magical. And this is why I was just so excited about putting this together. So we want your child to be more content and balanced in themselves, but then also have these vital tools, because they're going to go through some big stuff, right? And if they're not already, so this is the time for us to learn the tools so we can offer them to our child, so they're not in the dark like we have been. Claire, I feel like I so often don't have the time and space to fulfill my kids' needs. Yes, I so feel you on that, Claire. It's not easy, absolutely. And, the first and foremost is, how can you have your needs met? So how can you get your needs met? So this might be scheduling in yoga or like basketball or whatever you like doing, something that is for you, that is filling up your cup, where you're getting your needs met. Then you'll find that you'll then have the space to provide what your children need. So you have a choice here. The question is, how can you take what you've learned and put it into practice at home with your child to ease your anxiety, depression, and raging emotion? So you have a couple of options here. You can take what you've learned here and try and implement it in your own home on your own. Absolutely, if you want to do that. Or you can have the full support when you join KI for Parents and Children. So we've got the, if you've got your phones there, you feel free to get your phones out now and use the QR code just to get the link to the course up, and have a flick through as I continue on here. And it's also on this page, so I'll just keep that going there. So this course is definitely not for you if you want an overnight fix. Really, we're unlearning big stuff here. So we have our own stories, and we're also learning how to parent in a completely different way to how we were parented. We're not using the punitive consequences or power over method, even though it's quick and easy and simple. It's really has huge repercussions in the long term. This course is not for you if you don't want to do any inner work. So this really does require you to look within, and we have such safe ways. And this is why KI was so good for me, because I was so terrified of going towards my pain and trauma, like, being kind of picked on at netball training and having difficult aggression in my home, and also having my parents separated. That was really painful, and I just didn't want to go there. But KI just provided this safe way to do it in such a simple way. It was just so incredible. And of course I have the absolute joy of watching that in my clients as well. So, and that's why we've put the 4 KI sessions, so you can do the work, and so you then you can then provide the space for your kids. So it's not for you if you're not willing to make changes. So if you're quite happy dishing out punitive consequences, then just keep going. This course is for you if you want to feel more free with time to yourself. I have so much more time to myself since doing this. It's seriously a win-win-win-win. If you don't want parenting to feel so hard, and if you want your child to ease their raging emotions, anxiety and depression, then this course is absolutely for you, because what happens is they get the build up, they have the build up, and they need the expression and the release. And this course will show you how to have that release happen, and then they'll be in balance more, and they'll come to you, when they need you. It won't be all pent up inside. So what is KI for Parents and Children? It's a complete step-by-step 8-fortnight course for parents who are ready to learn how to ease their child's big feelings and to cultivate more cooperation, connection, harmony in your home. It's a one-of-a-kind course that focuses on mental health from an evidence-based, trauma-informed mind-body approach, using the Killer Bee Inquiries, a set of advanced mindfulness or self-inquiry tools to process and let go of thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and memories. Do you know that I did a course for psychologists and counsellors on trauma, and they are all learning this body-based approach to improving mental health? So this is the way of the future. This mind-body approach, where we're actually connecting to the body sensations, we're feeling our feelings, we're integrating our trauma. This is body work, and these tools are exactly the way to learn how to do it. It's a quick and effective way to help your child move through and out the other side of raging emotions, anxiety and depression. Great thing I love about this work is that you don't have to rely on going to see other people, and I'm not saying external support isn't helpful, but what I do love in this work is that you get resourced yourself. You learn how to manage what's going on for you with such skillful tools. It's just incredible. And I know we've got some people who already know the KI, so feel free to share how that's benefited you so far in the comments. So these are the modules. Module 1, preparation. Module 2, safety first. Module 3, emotional availability. Module 4, under the surface. Module 5, process any problem. Module 6, emotional intelligence. Module 7, befriending big feelings. Module 8, pathways of potential. Because our kids are, there's so much potential in our kids if they have the space held for them to express what's coming up for them rather than repress it. Okay, so this is what we do in module 1. So it's 16 weeks, 8 modules. It's an online program. We have group calls with Phil, Hanneke and I. We're a global team. Phil's in Canada, Hanneke is in the Netherlands, so European, American, and me in Australia. So we have each a fortnightly call that we run. And we all have worked with children in various ways, whether we've done KI with children with our own kids or other kids. We bring a wealth of experience with children, and we're deeply passionate about stopping this generational trauma from continuing. So module 1, preparation, prepare to get the most out of this course. So there's more connection, harmony and cooperation in your home. So it's really just about landing. And we do this like slowly, and we do this, it's not overwhelming, this course, because we know how busy you are. So it's like we've made this in a way that is user-friendly and it's digestible. Module 2 is about safety. So you'll learn more about self-regulation, more about the nervous system. There's, such valuable information here, and it'll help you understand yourself. When you can understand your own nervous system states, you'll be able to just be more self-aware and less reactive. Okay, so we've got some KI love here. Yeah. Galinda, KI is such an easy thing to do when difficult moments arise. It can diffuse situations quickly. Yes, it absolutely can. Yeah, so instead of holding stuff for weeks or, days or weeks, you can let it go using these tools. Leah, KI has been life-changing for me, and I can say such positive impact with my family here at home too, and has let me finally feel my feelings and know when I'm feeling overwhelmed. Yeah, just knowing. It's not our kids, stopping the noise that they're doing. It's actually, that trigger is within us. That's our job to process that. Module 3, emotional availability. So explore how to be emotionally available and become that safe place for your child to come to whenever they need it. So we want them to feel safe. We don't want them to be in that protective state with us. We don't want that trauma, that we have experienced. And they're going to have the trauma, and that's part of life, but it can be easier. Life can be so much easier for our kids. KI has been the most incredible tool I've ever learned to help me identify and allow trauma to shift through my body to free me from reoccurring triggers and reactions. Exactly. It's like we just get off the mouse reel of reacting in the same way, because it's the same story, it's the same memory, it's the same trauma. So when we get to the root of it, it's like, just kind of feels like water off a duck's back. It's like, oh yeah, my kid's doing that thing and I can feel the body sensations, rather than being like, shut up. Module 4. It is so liberating. Yes. Discover what's really going on underneath your child's skin regarding their trauma, thoughts and feelings. Yeah. So you get really good at seeing what the problem is under, what's the need, what's the story that they're carrying, and also for you, what is the story here? What's the story about your child having depression or struggling at school, or it's an interplay. So it's this for you and your child. Module 5, so you'll learn the simple tools to help your child process, resolve and let go of their negative self-talk and emotions that get in their way of friendship, school and any other challenges that they have. It's literally any problem. They'll just get really skillful. They'll be emotionally intelligent. They'll know exactly what to do in the moment, so they don't have to carry these stories that they're not good enough, or that they're bad at school, or that they have no friends. You can just nip it in the bud with them. Emotional intelligence is module 6. So you dive into additional strategies to guide your child to move their feelings through and out of their body, so that they don't get a buildup of emotional baggage. So they don't have to, carry the stuff that we have. This is a brand new way, and it's so freaking exciting that our kids can grow up with this. It's so good. Module 7, befriending big feelings. Learn how to guide you and your child to release relentless thoughts or stuck emotions, so your family can feel more relaxed and on the same page. So it's like, you don't have to escape parenting. It's like, it feels good. You don't have to, you can all get your needs met, and it can just become a part of life, that you all talk about the thoughts and feelings that are stuck. And you don't have to put on a brave face for your kid, absolutely not. And they don't need to. They can be human, right? And then they can let you in, and then you feel connected, and then there's more love. It's beautiful. Module 8, pathways of potential. So this is the last one. So this is where you and your child come out so well resourced, with knowledge and tools to support you and your child to feel a deeper connection and experience more cooperation in your home. So life doesn't have to be a battle, trying to get them to do the things that you want them to do, so you can do what you need to do. It's like you do it together. This is what you'll get from the program. So you get lifetime access, including all the updates that we'll do to the program, and you'll get the 5-step proven framework, which we've touched on tonight, and all the 8 modules. You get fortnightly tools to try for you and your child at your own pace. So this is all self-paced, it is across 16 weeks, but just pick and choose the bits that you need for your child's anxiety, your child's depression, or your child's raging emotions. You get the 4 one-on-one KI sessions, and that will help you safely deal with your own past. You'll get fortnightly group mentoring calls from me, from Hanneke, and from Phil. All, it's just going to be great, because you'll have people to actually ask questions about your kids, and you won't be in the dark and feeling like you have to do this on your own. And we can give you the science and also the steps, the practical steps, the things that you can say to your child to help them. And you get a safe and supportive Facebook group. I always attract the most amazing, friendly, compassionate, kind, fun people You also get guided audios, meditations, and KI quick sheet as well. And that'll just give you all the tools. You know, I'll say to print that out, and then you'll know these tools really well. And you'll have all of your questions answered about your child. So just imagine you and your child knowing the tools to help let go of negative self-talk and big emotions. Just imagine your child not buried in their screens or avoiding you, their self-talk and feelings all the time. Just imagine your child wanting to help out around the house. True story. Just imagine your child having the courage to take risks and have a real crack at life, be engaged again, not feel like they have to hide themselves, be someone different. Just imagine having more time and space for you. This is about you and you getting your needs met as well. Because when you get your needs met, then your child can get their needs met. So Kylie's on call. Thank you, Kylie. Bronte's taught me so many incredibly practical and effective tools that have helped me and my family learn how to process their feelings in a healthy and helpful way. This work should be compulsory reading for all teachers in training, and KI should definitely be a part of the national curriculum. So Kylie's a teacher as well. She is as passionate as I am about this. And some other reviews. So this is the first time I've found that I would consider, this is the first thing I've found that I would consider a cure for anxiety. We've been able to make a peaceful home. I don't feel like I need to escape home anymore. I'm calmer. My mind isn't crazy all the time. I'm at peace. I never thought genetically that was a part of me. That's Lisa Slayer. It's on my YouTube channel if you want to watch the video. It's a beautiful testimonial. This work is not just for those suffering from depression. It's so much more. It's for everyone. We all struggle. It's for parents. We often feel lost helping and supporting our children grow up. It's honest and easy to understand. Highly recommend. And I certainly had anxiety at different stages and perhaps was unaware to what extent or how it shaped my opinions, impacted my parenting and other areas of my life until finding your work. It's true, right? So sometimes we're just bumbling along, not really knowing how what we're saying is affecting our kids. And it's like, oh, okay, wow, we need to do something different here. So you do have a choice here. You can hire a parenting coach and spend $2,000 on a package of one-on-ones, or you could do it yourself, go blind, perhaps feel lost and supported along the way, or perhaps it might just work. That's quite possible too. Or you can get our exact framework, roadmap and support in KI for parents and children and master this yourself with our guidance, which we just love our work. Like this is just, we have been so thrilled to finally get this course out because we've been working on it for 3 years. And it's, KI is sweeping the world over in terms of like healing depression, anxiety, trauma, drug addiction, right across the world. And so this is the first time that we're actually providing a course for children to get this. It's like, life would be different if we had these tools when we were kids. So we get to do this now for our kids. So the value of this program based on the results you can get is absolutely priceless. That's 100% true. It will change your life. The value we've put in this course is easily worth over $4,000. It's true. So the cost of this course is not $2,000. It's not $1,000. You can get this entire course with the 4 one-on-one sessions starting today for $7.99. And you also, when you sign up by the end of this webinar, you can get 5 bonuses. So we have packed over $4,000 worth of value into the 8 modules, which are mainly videos and presentations from us, but also beautiful audios and meditations and resources like PDFs. Again, we haven't overloaded the content, so don't feel like it's like, oh, it's a whole other thing you have to do. This is really practical. And then of course the fortnightly group mentoring calls, that's when you come and be like, okay, I've tried to let my child have, be angry and it's like freaking me out. We are here to support you to change how you might be doing things. So you can find that sense of cooperation, harmony, and just have your child back in balance, connected with you. You'll get fortnightly tools to try, and you'll also get the Facebook group, another beautiful way to connect and feel supported in the process. And so you get all of this and then these bonuses. So I'll share with you down the bottom here. Bonus 1 is Let Go in 15 minutes. So it's an audio guide, and it shows you the steps to process any problem. So, and that's to let go of the thought and the feeling that you're experiencing. So when you're triggered by your kid, come and do this audio guide. This will help you come back into balance yourself so you can self-regulate, co-regulate, and then be there for your child and help them meet their needs. Bonus 2 is 9 natural rest games. My gosh, this is so cute. This is Ivy and I doing 9, we call it natural rest in KI, which is basic mindfulness, but it's coming back to rest, connection, safety. And these were recorded when Ivy was 3, so it was really cute to watch these back when we were putting them together. But again, it's about play, because kids love play to connect. So we want to play with them. How can we play with our kids to bring them back into balance? Knowing also, fun fact, that laughing is also, it expresses the same emotion as, when they yell or scream. So it's the same energy. Energy is energy. So they can actually express their emotions through laughing and through play. And that's a fun way. Bonus 3, this is from Phil, a beautiful addition here, A Story of Life, 10 natural rest audio treats. So it's both for you and your child to listen and become more aware of yourself and be connected to yourself in that quiet and gentle way. Bonus 4 is Easy Mindfulness Audio Series. So these are 5-minute ones. Really just, let's just say you've just had enough, kids won't get out of the bath. You can literally take yourself and listen to these for 5 minutes and you'll feel so much better, and then it'll get you through the rest of the day without losing your lid. And bonus 5, this is a precious one that I wrote, KI for Parents and Children ebook, which has such valuable information, but also very practical steps that you can take with your child. So you get, when you sign up now to the course, by the end of this webinar, then you will get these 5 bonuses. I'm just going to say, by tonight, if you're in Australia. When you sign up by tonight, you'll get these 5 bonuses along with the course. So I'm happy to give you a refund if you sign up and you're like, no, this is just not working for me. But I do ask, if you do that, I want you to show me that you have committed, you've completed the steps and the practices and tried the tools before you come and ask for a refund. But absolutely, I'm happy to offer a refund if it's just not for you. It's because we want people who are feeling aligned and like, yes, I am so thrilled to be here. That's who we want to work with. And that's it. So here, if you have a look here, you've got the QR code, and now it's a Q&A, right? So how are we going for time? Oh, it's 9:05. Okay, it's a lot of talking. So any questions that you have, this could be about your child, or it could be about the course, KI for Parents and Children. You'll see here that you can enroll, when you enroll tonight, and you'll get these 5 bonuses at the bottom. You can enroll and get the 4 one-on-ones for $7.99. Also, there's another option that you'll see on the KI for Parents and Children's page, and you can enroll for $3.99 if you just want to not opt in for the 4 one-on-ones. Obviously, the 4 one-on-ones are priceless, because that's when you actually process your own stuff. You look at your own stuff, you learn how to look at your own stuff and let that go, so you're more emotionally available for your child to then hold the space for what they need. But also, like, to have your own needs met as well. It's very lovely to have someone in a KI session just to hold the space. You can just go, dump, like it's not really talking so much. It's more about processing through using the tools that I've shown you, befriending and letting the thoughts and feelings go. And it's very lovely. It's very lovely to just hand over the reins and have someone hold the space for you to process the big stuff that might be making you reactive, or, moving into the power over stuff, or just not being able to listen. Sometimes we can't do it. And that's okay. And at the same time, we can develop our capacity to be able to be present and listen and help our children get their needs met, because, there's big repercussions if we don't do that. Not to instill fear, it's just, my life is living proof of that, with 22 years of depression. So questions, does anyone have any questions? Just gonna get and actually, does anyone want to come off mute, and does anyone want to just share more about where you're at with your child, and any specific questions about your child? Okay, I think you guys are ready for bed. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Claire. Thanks for your passion and time, Bronte. It's clear how powerful you have found these techniques and understanding. It's really interesting content that resonates on many levels. I'm a big believer in slowing things down and taking time to approach things thoughtfully. Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely. You're welcome, Shan. So thank you so much. Thanks, Kylie. No worries. Thanks for joining me. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks, Leah, via private message. Thanks, Galinda. Or you can email me. Thanks, Narelle. So very valuable in so many ways. I love your passion with it. Yeah, thank you. And if you're welcome, Rebecca. Messages are coming through. So yeah, if you have any questions, then reach out via email. And that's it. We're starting the KR for Parents and Children course in September, so in a couple of weeks, and we'd really love to have you guys on board if you're feeling resonant with everything. All right, thank you, and we shall see you soon. Take care. Bye.